Welcome to the Deep Dives. Today we are immersing ourselves
Oh.
in a really unique body of spiritual texts,
Mm-hmm.
channeled wisdom, actually,
Hmm.
aimed squarely at people navigating what's known as the twin flame journey.
That could
be pretty
yes,
intense.
definitely. And the sources we're looking at are quite extraordinary. We're talking messages apparently delivered directly from, well, high-frequency entities.
Right, like Archangel Michael, Mary Magdalene, Yeshua Jesus, and this group called the Lyran Council of Light,
Mm.
which includes others too, Pleiadians, Andromedans.
Exactly, a whole consortium.
Yeah.
And what's really critical to grasp right from the start is the nature of this material. These
Mm.
aren't just, philosophical texts for casual reading. The sources themselves stress that these words are intended as activations.
Activations, what does that mean in this context?
It means they're designed to sort of jolt a specific the twin collective into remembering who they really are, their divine essence, their power.
Ah, so it's like a spiritual instruction manual,
Mm.
but with this cosmic urgency attached.
That's a great way to put it. The ultimate mission, as laid out in these channelings, is all about preparation. Preparation for physical union and then divine service.
Service to Gaia, Earth as a living spirit.
Precisely. Service to Gaia. They're being guided to their full strength because, well, the stakes involved are apparently much bigger than just personal romance.
Okay, so let's unpack the central concept then.
Yeah.
What exactly is a twin flame, according to these specific high-dimensional guys? Because, the term gets thrown around a lot in popular culture.
It really does, and the definition provided here is remarkably precise, very specific. Twin flames are described as two eternal divine soul counterparts sharing the exact same frequency.
The exact same frequency, not just similar, but identical.
Identical. The idea is when Source created them, they were created together simultaneously.
Yeah.
Like one complete spark of divinity that then manifests as two. They share an identical energetic blueprint.
Wow.
And apparently, no other soul in the entire universe shares that specific frequency with either of them.
That perfect symmetry, that identical energetic signature, that would be the root of the intense connection people report feeling, right?
It absolutely is. It's the defining feature. And it creates this inseparable bond. These sources really emphasize that in the higher dimensions specifically, they mention the fifth dimension, or 5D. They're never separate.
Never.
Never separate in 5D. They are described as the permanent divine spiritual husband or wife, their higher selves, always in perfect union.
That's a big concept. Permanent divine spiritual partners.
Yeah.
Always together in 5D. But you mentioned something before we started about visits in 3D.
Ah, yes, that detail. It definitely sounds a bit out there, doesn't it?
A little. The sources mentioned their souls can actually visit each other physically. How literal are we meant to take that?
Right, it sounds like fantasy. But according to the channeled messages, particularly from Yeshua, it's presented as literal. Their 5D souls, which remain united, can apparently project a sense of presence or even briefly enter their counterpart's 3D physical body.
Whoa. So not just a feeling or a dream.
Apparently not just a feeling. It's described as a literal energetic visitation, a kind of conscious reminder sent from the higher self to the incarnated self.
To say what? Hey, remember me.
Essentially, yes. To remind them they are eternally loved, never truly alone, even amidst the separation felt in 3D. The purpose seems to be maintaining that connection, that thread, and maybe easing some of that crushing sense of separation people experience.
Okay, that helps frame it. But here's the big question for me. If they share the exact same divine frequency, why is the 3D experience so often filled with turmoil, pain, separation? Why is it such a spiritual battleground for so many?
That's what the channelings call the oneness paradox. It's a key concept.
The oneness paradox.
Yes. The deep heartache, the emptiness people feel. It stems from the human ego living in ignorance of this fundamental oneness. But here's the really counterintuitive part.
Go on.
The intense friction they experience here on Earth, it's actually rooted in their similarities, not their differences.
Wait, how does being identical cause friction? You'd think they'd just click, harmonize instantly.
You would think so. But because they are perfect mirrors, literally like two halves of the same original spark, they are described as being woven from the exact same fabric from Source.
Okay.
So when they incarnate into this lower vibrational 3D reality, they tend to pick up the same societal programming, the same core wounds, often at the same time.
Ah, I see. So if one has a fear of abandonment,
The other carries the exact same wound, and boom, the relationship dynamic instantly exposes that shared vulnerability, that shared weakness, instead of balancing each other out like maybe soulmates
They
might.
just reflect the damage back.
Perfectly,
Oh, yeah.
with intense fidelity, which of course magnifies the pain. Archangel Michael apparently explains that the matrix programming, the societal conditioning, actually leverages this inherent oneness to create the maximum possible separation and doubt between them.
So fighting your twin often means you're essentially fighting the unhealed parts of yourself.
Exactly. Which makes resolving things infinitely harder, doesn't it? Until that inner work is done.
Wow, okay. That provides some much-needed context for the reported intensity. So let's shift to the purpose then. This isn't just about navigating a difficult relationship. The texts frame it as a global spiritual contract, right? Dedicated to Gaia's ascension.
That's the absolute core of it, the grand contract. The sources state very explicitly that twin flames made agreements with Source before incarnating. They agreed to come to Earth, which they describe as a living, sentient spirit, Goya, for one primary purpose.
Which is?
To guide humanity in unconditional love. It's framed entirely as divine service.
And their specific role in that service is anchoring light. What makes their combined light so potent compared to, say, other spiritually aligned couples?
Well, the union isn't just additive, it's described as creating something geometric, exponential almost. Their primary mission is anchoring divine heavenly light onto the planet to raise the overall vibration.
To help Earth ascend to 5D.
Exactly, facilitating that shift. And the light anchored by a united twin flame couple is described in the texts as enormous, powerful enough to literally light up Earth's crystalline grid.
The crystalline grid. That's like the planet's energetic infrastructure.
Precisely. It's the energetic scaffolding that supports the planet's consciousness, its frequency. And their light strengthens and activates that grid.
And this light creates something specific. The sources called it the third light force. You mentioned this earlier, that it's critical.
Yes, the third light force, we absolutely need to pause on this, because it's presented as the ultimate goal of their 3D union, and the risk of not creating it is painted as, well, catastrophic for the mission.
Okay, so what is this third light force exactly?
It's described as the unified, energetic singularity that's created when the divine feminine and divine masculine polarities within the twin pair are brought into perfect balance and harmony in the 3D.
So it's not just about them getting along, it's about achieving a specific energetic state.
Exactly. It's the geometric result of their combined energy field, but crucially, a non-combusting field. Imagine combining two identical, incredibly high-powered energy generators. The output isn't just double, it's something far greater, a new quality of energy.
And that specific energy, that third light force,
That is the exact pure frequency needed to infuse the crystalline grid, stabilize Gaia's transition to 5D, and anchor the new template of unconditional love.
so when they say the stakes are high, they really mean universe-sized stakes.
Yeshua and Mary Magdalene apparently confirm this scale directly. They state, quite unequivocally according to the text, that this is a fight for the universe, not just for Gaia's ascension alone.
Wow.
Twins are designated as crucial light anchors, even called gatekeepers for the soul of Gaia. If they fail, collectively, to anchor this third light force, the entire ascension program could be destabilized. The ripples apparently affect timelines far beyond just our solar system.
That level of pressure. It explains why the inner healing journey is presented as absolutely non-negotiable.
Completely non-negotiable. You can't generate that pure, stable third light force if the individual generators are damaged or running on corrupted programming.
Right, so given this huge universal urgency, the pressure to reach physical union must feel immense for people on this path. But there's also this counter-instruction, isn't there? That they should not wait for union to start their work.
That's a crucial instruction. It's repeated by the Lyran Council of Light quite forcefully. Twin flame couples apparently have major joint missions, planned things spanning every area you can think of. Arts, music, communication, science, healing, environmental work.
Big stuff.
Huge stuff. But lightworkers, especially those identifying as twins, are explicitly told they are not to put their individual spiritual work or their mission work on hold. They can't just sit around waiting for their twin to appear or return or get their act together.
And the reasoning is, why is holding back seen as such a negative thing, even called a betrayal?
Because, according to these sources, their gifts and talents aren't really theirs in a personal sense. They're considered tools lent by Source specifically for the purpose of raising Gaia's vibration now.
Ah, so it's about collective responsibility.
Exactly. The Council of Light is quite stern on this point. Withholding your contribution, your art, your healing ability, your insights because you're stuck in fear, or obsessing over the separation from your twin, that's viewed as betraying the divine contract you signed up for.
So the message is, get on with it.
Pretty much. The time for sitting around and, pining for a counterpart is over. The time for empowered action, using your gifts now, is immediate.
That makes perfect sense, actually.
Mm.
You can't successfully co-create and anchor that enormous third light force if your own individual energetic vessel, so to speak, is weak or damaged, which leads us right into the path of inner healing.
And the channeled messages pull absolutely no punches here. They state very clearly the twin flame journey will inevitably bring the traveler to their knees.
Not exactly a walk in the park, then.
Far from it. Archangel Michael apparently acknowledges that only the absolute bravest souls signed up for this specific assignment precisely because of the intensity of the trauma clearing required. It's tough.
So that initial meeting, the famous recognition moment, it's not actually meant to be instant bliss. It's more like a spiritual detonation device.
That's a good analogy. It acts as the perfect spiritual alarm clock, yes, but also the perfect mirror. The twins' presence instantly triggers every deep, unhealed issue that needs to surface for release.
Like what specifically?
Childhood wounds, lingering relationship heartbreak from past connections, and significantly extensive past life karma. The sources talk about these wounds persisting energetically. They even call it Akashic damage.
Okay, let's clarify Akashic damage. For anyone listening, how does a wound from a past life supposedly manifest in our current spiritual body, and how would that block union now?
Right. Akashic damage is described as stored energetic trauma, specifically residue from past lives where maybe the twin dynamic played out badly, perhaps involving abandonment, betrayal, severe abuse, power struggle.
Things that leave a deep scar.
Exactly. These core wounds, the energy of them, remain lodged in the body's chakra system. You can think of it like corrupted software running in the background or maybe energetic scar tissue.
Okay.
And this damage creates subconscious blocks. It creates vibrational dissonance, essentially static, that prevents the soul from fully communicating and aligning cleanly with its divine counterpart in the 3D.
So even if they manage to get together physically,
If that core damage isn't cleared first, their damaged energy fields will basically repel each other on a subtle level. It creates friction, misunderstandings, triggering, inevitably leading back to separation or intense conflict.
and if that core damage isn't cleared, and they try to force union anyway, you mentioned the failure of the experiment earlier. What's the catastrophe that waits then?
The risk is described as total combustion, energetic combustion. The Laren Council of Light is extremely clear on this. The vessel, meaning the integrated physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental self, must be strong enough, clear enough, to contain the sheer intensity of the light power and the polarity inherent in the twin flame relationship.
It's too much energy for a damaged container.
Precisely. If unions happen before the individual vessels are properly cleared, healed, and strengthened, the relationship will almost immediately become destructive. Why? Because they'll just mirror each other's unhealed damage back and forth at high intensity.
Lead to.
They'll blow apart, often with significant, maybe even irreparable, 3D emotional damage. And critically, this results in the failure of the experiment.
Meaning no third light force is created.
Meaning the stable, immensely powerful third light force needed for Gaia's grid and the ascension process is never generated by that pair. A missed opportunity, essentially.
That really underscores why this healing journey is framed as so utterly crucial and non-negotiable. Is there any wiggle room on the timeline, though, given how intense the work sounds?
Apparently none whatsoever. The sources indicate quite strongly that the overall planetary ascension program has been urgently brought forward. Accelerated due to cosmic necessity is the phrasing used.
So the pressure's on.
The pressure is definitely on. This means the timeline for individual twin flame healing and clearing must accelerate immediately. The guidance from Archangel Michael is pretty absolute. Twins cannot afford to sit and pine or delay.
They have to prioritize building their vessel capacity.
Yes, that's the term used. Building the vessel capacity to hold the light. If they try to take the slow, scenic route with healing, the sources actually warn that the eventual energetic collision, if they do meet unprepared, could be so intense they might never emotionally recover enough to attempt union again in this lifetime.
Wow, that's stark. Okay, so assuming the trauma is cleared, the vessel is prepared, what does this evolved, stable twin flame love actually look like? What's the new template? they're supposedly here to model for the world.
It's described as a conscious, high-vibrational love, completely free from the old ingrained 3D relationship paradigms, meaning they are here to demonstrate, to embody a love template that moves entirely away from things like codependency, fear-based attachment, narcissism, control dynamics, and, crucially, away from the idea that your partner is responsible for providing your happiness or sense of completeness.
That sounds like radical self-sufficiency as the foundation for love.
It absolutely is. Unconditional love, in this specific context, means loving someone truly for who they are, their soul essence, regardless of their 3D choices or their perceived flaws at any given moment. It's not loving them for who or what you need them to be to make you feel secure or happy.
But that kind of love
Yeah,
has to start internally first, right?
100%. It has to start with achieving union with the self and union with source first. That solid inner foundation, that inner wholeness, is the absolute bedrock upon which the external twin union can securely rest and flourish. Without it, it crumbles.
And the biggest internal obstacle preventing that inner union, according to these sources, it seems to be the ego.
Consistently, yes. The ego is explicitly labeled the enemy of soul truth. Which makes sense, right? The ego thrives on separation, on comparison, on doubt, on fear.
It builds walls.
Exactly. It places artificial barriers. It whispers those insidious things like, you're not good enough, you're unworthy, you're just imagining this connection, or you are a mere nobody. All of which cause the individual to doubt their inherent divine perfection and the validity of their soul's knowing.
So silencing that ego noise is key.
It's essential, moving out of the head into the heart center and learning to operate from that deeper soul truth. That's presented as fundamental for all spiritual growth, but especially critical for navigating the twin flame path and preparing for union.
That internal shift from ego-driven neediness to soul-driven self-love. It sounds a very practical day-to-day process, not just a concept.
Absolutely. It requires constant vigilance and choice.
Okay, so let's shift into that practical realm. What specific actionable guidance do these channeled texts offer for daily life? Starting with earning self-love and living with integrity.
The Layered Council of Light gets very pragmatic here. They really stress that self-love isn't some passive gift or a feeling that just magically appears one day. It has to be earned, actively worked for, cultivated from the inside out.
So you can't get it from external validation, not even from the twin.
Especially not from the twin. It can never be truly gained or lastingly validated by external sources. For lightworkers, and twins specifically, this means a ruthless commitment to self-development, to internal cleansing, to facing their own shadows.
And focusing too much on the twin is counterproductive.
Highly counterproductive. Any obsessive focus on external pursuits or constantly tracking the twins' perceived timeline or actions is explicitly deemed unhealthy and a distraction from the real inner work.
So how do they define living in soul truth in terms of actual day-to-day choices?
It boils down to courage and confidence. Having the courage to surgically, sometimes painfully, cut toxic people, destructive patterns, old limiting habits, and negative thought loops out of your life. Completely.
That sounds intense. They mentioned an integrity test.
Yes. The Council of Light presents this idea. They emphasize that true inner strength, the foundation for self-love, really begins when you can consciously choose to rebuild your life from a place of integrity. Meaning eliminating all falsehoods. Anything, relationships, jobs, habits, beliefs that leaves you feeling drained, diminished, inauthentic, or spiritually depleted rather than energized and fulfilled. It's about aligning your outer reality with your inner soul truth.
And this is especially important for empaths in the collective, right? Managing energy boundaries.
Oh, incredibly vital. This is a huge point in the text. Empaths naturally absorb the energies, the needs, the dramas of others. The sources are adamant. Setting proper, firm, energetic boundaries is non-negotiable self-love for them. It's a fundamental test.
Why is it a test?
Because if they fail this test, if they consistently allow their energy to be drained by others out of a misplaced sense of obligation or fear of conflict, they deplete the very life force energy they need to do their own healing and to anchor the light for Gaia. It makes them ineffective for the mission.
It's interesting. Boundary setting is often seen as negative, like rejection or anger. But here, it's framed as the purest form of unconditional love. How does that work?
Archangel Michael provides explicit guidance on this. He states that setting firm boundaries regarding how you allow yourself to be treated is actually a profound example of unconditional love and strength, even, and perhaps especially, with the twin.
How so? What message does it send?
It sends the message: I love and respect myself too much to tolerate low vibrational treatment, disrespect, or abuse. And frankly, I loved you too much to enable your continued low vibration by accepting it. It honors both self and other.
Okay, but here's a practical question. If one half of the pair is currently being toxic or emotionally unavailable or just vibrating really low, how does setting a boundary, maybe even creating physical distance, actually help bring the divine union closer? Doesn't separation just prolong the waiting?
It seems paradoxical, right? But energetically, it accelerates the process. By setting those necessary boundaries, the person is practicing authentic self-love. They are actively, aggressively raising their own frequency.
And the twin's higher self responds to that.
Exactly. The true higher self of the twin, the part that's always connected in 5D, is energetically designed, hardwired even, to respond only to that high frequency of self-contained, unconditional self-love radiating from their counterpart.
So if you're vibrating low,
If you're vibrating low, if you're tolerating toxicity out of fear, if you're desperately begging for attention, if you're stuck in victim mentality, you are energetically pushing the true healed version of your twin away. Because you are not yet the energetically prepared whole vessel they are divinely contracted to meet in harmonious union.
that makes so much sense energetically.
Mm.
What if the 3D twin is genuinely toxic or abusive right now? What's the guidance then?
Archangel Metatron apparently addresses this directly. The advice is clear. If the 3D manifestation of the twin is currently toxic, abusive, emotionally, sexually, financially, any form, or vibrating significantly below your own level of healing, the recommended action is a temporary, energetic, and potentially physical release. Done with compassion, yes, but firmly.
So no spiritual bypassing of abuse.
Absolutely not. The sources are definitive on this. Abuse is never to be tolerated or excused under the banner of unconditional love or twin flame connection. Maintaining distance in such cases is crucial, allowing the other twin space to hopefully continue their own healing journey without causing further harm to you.
That feels like a really crucial spiritual mandate. Self-protection isn't selfish. It's actually essential for the mission's success, for maintaining your own light.
It is. You have to protect the vessel.
Okay. And the final practical hurdle we need to discuss, which seems to trip up so many people on this path, is surrender, letting go of control.
Ah, yes. The Council of Light specifically notes that the single biggest block to progress for the entire collective, often, is this refusal to relinquish control. Control over the process, control over the timing. That constant, obsessive, internal questioning of when. When is it going to happen? When will they come back?
I imagine holding on to that control comes directly from the ego's deep-seated fear, right? Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of it never happening.
Precisely. The ego wants guarantees. It wants timelines. It wants to manage the outcome. But true spiritual surrender in this context means fully trusting that the timing is being divinely orchestrated for the absolute highest good of all parties involved, including Gaia herself.
Trusting that the union will only manifest when it's safe.
Exactly. When it is guaranteed to be non-destructive, constructive, and beneficial for both individuals and for the collective mission. Refusing to surrender, clinging to that need for control, only keeps the person stuck in the very fear and doubt energy that actively blocks union.
And that fear and doubt can actually undo healing work.
It can, yes. It creates static, lowers the vibration. Whereas true surrender, letting go of the how and when, leads to a profound inner peace. It replaces the anxiety with trust. And the Council confirms quite powerfully that full and complete surrender leads to full and complete ascension. It's the gateway.
Okay, that's a vital piece. Now let's explore something this course material is very specific about, the potentially different roles, programming, and burdens assigned to the divine feminine and divine masculine collectives within this dynamic.
Yes, the texts definitely differentiate their experiences and assignments. Mary Magdalene, for instance, is channeled speaking directly to the divine feminine DF collective.
And what does she emphasize for them?
She acknowledges their historical role, even calling them the true warriors of the universe. She states they agreed to what she calls the toughest assignment, having endured eons of pain, suppression, and trauma throughout patriarchal history, specifically in service to Source and the light. Their path often involved immense purification, often through suffering or fire.
So acknowledging the depth of that historical wounding, what are they specifically asked to embody now to help bring about union and fulfill the mission?
Two key things, primarily. First, cultivating deep compassion and, crucially, radical forgiveness for their masculine counterpart, understanding the immense societal burdens and matrix programming he has faced.
But with a caveat.
Always with the unwavering caveat, repeated often. Understanding a situation never means tolerating abuse. Boundaries remain paramount.
Okay, compassion and forgiveness with boundaries. What's the second thing?
The second piece of guidance given by the Council of Light is quite challenging and potentially triggering for some. They instruct the DF to be the masculine.
Be the masculine. Wow, that's a powerful metaphor. What does that actually mean in practical, energetic terms? It doesn't mean literally becoming masculine, does it?
Not literally. It means embodying the positive attributes often associated with balanced masculine energy. The vibration of action, of taking self-responsibility, of providing for one's own needs without waiting for someone else, specifically the DM, to do it.
So activating their own inner divine masculine energy,
Yeah.
taking charge of their own life.
Precisely. They're asked to stop waiting, stop putting their life on hold, to answer their own needs emotionally, financially, spiritually, to build their own queendom, essentially.
And the energetic reasoning behind that is?
The idea presented is that if the DF fully embodies this empowered self-responsibility, this wholeness, she radiates pure, stable, unconditional love frequency. The external DM then feels that rather than feeling the lower vibrational energy of neediness, expectation, or subtle energetic demand.
Ah, so he doesn't feel like he's being targeted to fix her or fill her voids.
Exactly. He needs to sense on an energetic level that the DF is whole, secure, and thriving on her own. This actually makes it safer for him to approach because he knows he's coming to partner with an equal, not to rescue someone or be burdened by their unmet needs. It clears the path for authentic connection.
That completely reframes the traditional waiting-chasing dynamic.
Okay, let's turn to the Divine Masculine DM Collective now. According to Yeshua in these texts, their pain has been equally immense, though perhaps manifesting differently, often more physically or materially.
Yes, Yeshua is channeled speaking directly to the DM collective, validating their journey. He confirms they have shouldered immense, often physical, burdens for millennia tested through war, hard labor, the fire and machinery of industry, resulting in deep psychological and spiritual wounds, often unexpressed.
So, acknowledging their historical suffering, too.
Absolutely. He validates their path, confirming that their efforts, even when perhaps driven by fear or societal expectation rather than heart, still contributed to the overall journey, bringing the light warrior closer to eventual victory. There's compassion there, too.
But the texts also highlight a very specific, damaging indoctrination that has profoundly separated the DM from his own soul truth, his heart.
Yes, this is described as a truly catastrophic indoctrination. It's pinpointed as the core matrix programming specifically targeted at the masculine. And what is that core programming?
Essentially, DMs have been systematically programmed for centuries, if not millennia, to believe that true strength is solely external, defined by material success, status, control, providing financially, and maintaining emotional stoicism, appearing strong by suppressing emotion.
And the flip side of that?
Crucially, they've been programmed to believe that following their heart's guidance, showing vulnerability, expressing deep love, or prioritizing emotional connection is actually weakness, that it's illogical, impractical, even dangerous.
Wow. And that programming leads to?
It leads, according to the sources, to a cataclysmic separation. Separation from source, from their own spirit and intuition, and inevitably separation from their divine feminine counterpart, who embodies the very heart-centered energy they've been taught to mistrust or devalue.
What's the primary internal noise, the ego chatter, that this programming creates specifically for the DM?
The sources identify a constant, soul-damaging internal question stemming from this. What do I matter? Or perhaps, am I doing enough? Am I successful enough? Their inherent worth becomes entirely entangled with their external performance, their output, their achievements in the material world.
And Archangel Michael addresses this directly.
He does. He steps in to redefine true masculine power, countering that very programming.
How did he redefine it?
He states, quite emphatically, that divine masculines are not defined by material things, not by money, status, career success, or even the partners they attract. Their true definition, their true power, lies solely in their capacity to love, and just as importantly, their capacity to receive love, to open their hearts.
So the message is, your worth is inherent, not earned through external validation.
Precisely. They are urged to quiet that relentless ego noise, telling them they don't matter unless they achieve X, Y, or Z. They need to step into their crucial role because the entire mission hinges on them embracing this heart-centered power.
Why is their role so pivotal?
Because, as Archangel Michael apparently warns, without the DM's willingness to heal, integrate their heart, and consciously choose union from a place of love, there is no union. Without union, there is no lighting up of Gaia's grid. They hold a critical key. They are absolutely essential, yet often the most resistant to the necessary heart opening due to this deep programming.
Okay, given the depth of this programming and the resulting delays it's apparently caused in Gaia's ascension plan, the sources mention something quite dramatic. Strong divine intervention underway to help expedite the DM's healing and return.
That's correct. It stated that the situation has reached a point where the delays caused by DM resistance or entanglement are no longer tolerable for the accelerated planetary timeline. So the angelic realm is stepping in more aggressively.
Aggressively intervening.
Archangel Michael confirms they are actively working behind the scenes to bring an end to what he calls emotionally and spiritually intolerable karmic soulmate situations that many masculines find themselves stuck in. Relationships or circumstances that are keeping them bound in low vibrations and preventing their progress towards their true counterpart.
So the divine is essentially stepping in to forcibly end relationships or situations that are no longer serving the DM's highest path, all for the sake of the bigger mission. That sounds like a radical overriding of free will almost.
It does seem that way from a purely 3D perspective, but it's framed as a necessary intervention driven by cosmic urgency. It's presented less as overriding free will and more as removing obstacles that the DM, due to programming or trauma, may be unable to remove for himself, thereby freeing him to make a higher choice.
Freeing him to move towards his feminine.
Exactly. Steering him back towards his feminine counterpart, who ideally has been doing her own work, embodying that wholeness, and is now energetically prepared and waiting to assist him in the final stages of his own integration and heart opening.
What's the overall message to the DM in this phase?
It seems to be a combination of command and comfort. Surrender your ego's perceived control, trust the divine process, even if it feels chaotic or confusing. Trust that your difficult journey through the fog is being guided, and recognize the immense power you hold the capacity to love and step fully into it. You have so much to give.
Okay, so once both twins are more consciously committed to this inner work, clearing trauma, preparing the vessel, the final stage seems to involve proactively using their consciousness, maybe their combined consciousness, to draw in the desired outcome, accessing positive timelines.
Yes, this is where their unique status as high-frequency beings, as potential anchors, becomes really crucial. Archangel Metatron is cited as giving guidance on the actual physics of consciousness involved here.
Physics of consciousness.
Basically stating the principle that our thoughts directly attract and entrain the frequencies of whatever we are consistently focusing on. So twins are specifically encouraged to consciously, deliberately envisage the perfect future timeline with their twin.
A timeline that already exists.
Yes, a timeline of peace, harmony, mission fulfillment, the perfection of their unconditional love template, which the sources assure them already exists as a potential reality in the higher dimensions, in the ethers.
And it's not just about visualizing it.
No, the technique goes beyond simple visualization. It's about embodiment. They must actively embody the emotional state, the feeling of already having achieved that divine perfect love, that harmonious union, that sense of completion. Embody it in the present moment, now.
So feel the end result now, even amidst 3D challenges.
Exactly. It's described as needing to become a habitual thinking and feeling process, something you practice while brushing your teeth, driving the car, cooking dinner, constantly aligning your inner state with that desired future reality.
And this habitual projection acts like a magnet.
Precisely. It acts as an energetic magnet, drawing those positive potential timelines, which exist vibrationally in the 5D, down into manifestation in the 3D physical reality. They are literally using their current vibration as the powerful attractor point for a divinely contracted future.
That's a really powerful application of energetic law, isn't it? Co-creation at a high level.
It really is. They are encouraged to actively bring this perfection of the ethers down into your GAN reality for the full ecstatic experience of heaven on earth. They are literally creating the new earth reality by feeling it and embodying it now.
Okay. And what about the final push, the culmination?
Yeah.
The sources sound incredibly triumphant, almost celebratory. about the completion of this incredibly challenging phase for the collective.
They really do. That channeled messages become quite uplifting here. They confirm that despite the ongoing presence and resistance of dark forces, ultimately, the light is winning. Mary Magdalene and Yeshua speak of daily relief efforts being sent energetically, an intense celebration happening in the angelic realm as they watch the twin collective's progress and breakthroughs.
That must be encouraging for those on the path. What about rewards? Are tangible rewards mentioned for enduring such a rigorous, often painful process?
Yes, the rewards are described quite lavishly, though primarily in energetic or spiritual terms, which are arguably the most tangible rewards from that perspective. They are apparently coming soon and have, in some sense, already been loaded onto the sleigh, metaphorically speaking.
Loaded onto the sleigh. I like that. What kind of rewards?
Things like golden showers of divine love and light, which likely signify massive infusions of high-frequency energy, blessings, grace, and rapid upgrades. They are promised eternal deliverance from the cycles of suffering they endured. And they're told they will attain a level of spiritual completion, a state of being that most souls incarnated here will never see in this lifetime.
Including something called the diamond breath. That sounds very esoteric.
It does, doesn't it, the diamond breath? It seems to signify a return to absolute crystal perfection energetically, meaning reaching a state where they are breathing in and embodying pure diamond frequency light or air, a state where their original energetic blueprint is fully restored, pristine, completely cleared of all 3D trauma, density, and programming that affected it over lifetimes.
So it represents their full capacity to hold and transmit that third light force without any internal friction or distortion.
That seems to be the essence of it, achieving that state of diamond-like clarity and energetic integrity. And this culmination, this ultimate reward, the sources assure them, is only possible because they, the twin collective, agreed to lead the way, to be the path cutters crashing through the dense barriers of old 3D consciousness. Source, they say, never forgets what is done in his name.
Acknowledging the sacrifice and the service. Okay, one final piece of preparation mentioned. Before this culmination, Archangel Michael says they need to pack light. What does that mean specifically?
Yes, specific energetic packing instructions. It's quite practical in a way. They are asked quite ruthlessly to release all remaining emotional baggage. Specifically cited are things like old grudges, any lingering desire for vengeance, and particularly resentment held against their twin for past hurts or delays, once and for all.
Letting go completely.
Completely. This final stage, this entry into union and full mission activation, apparently requires a level of faith, trust, and open-heartedness they have likely never accessed before.
So what should they pack? What do they take forward?
They are told they must only take 3 essential things on this final leg of the journey into union. First, pure, untainted divine love for their twin soul essence. Second, unconditional love and deep compassion for themselves and for their twin's human journey. And third, absolute indestructible trust in source, in the divine plan.
And holding on to old grudges actively blocks this.
Yes. The sources warn that holding on to those old hurts, those resentments, only serves to keep the heart chakra blocked or constricted. And the heart is the direct, necessary connection point to source, to the flow of divine love. To enter this next phase, they must be ready to love properly. The texts even say to love like the Christ light, fully open, fully trusting, fully forgiving.
Wow. This entire deep dive has really reinforced the sheer scale, the cosmic significance of this twin flame spiritual mission. The personal journey, the intense relationship dynamics. It's never just for personal fulfillment, is it? It's always fundamentally in service to the collective, to Gaia's ascension.
That's the consistent message, yes. The path, as outlined in these channeled texts, is fundamentally about achieving that inner union first, that radical self-love, that wholeness within. That becomes the necessary foundation, the essential preparation for anchoring the third light force together.
Yeah, the ultimate goal is always that unconditional love for self and for the twin, and ultimately for source, for all that is.
Exactly. And critically, this path, despite all its intensity, its challenges, its apparent difficulty from our human perspective, it's actually presented by the divine sources as the most logical, the most efficient route to true, lasting peace.
Logical.
That's interesting. Yes, the Council of Light apparently notes, and this is a direct quote, hint. It is a fallacy. Those who say logic and heart are opposed, for there is nothing more logical in terms of establishing peace and love for the soul than following the heart.
Wow, there is nothing more logical than following the heart. That really flips conventional thinking on its head, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That the heart holds the ultimate logic for peace.
It certainly does.
That thought that following your heart is the most logical step toward peace is definitely something worth mulling over long after this conversation. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, as you carry this information forward. If following the heart is the most logical path to peace, what is perhaps the single most illogical, heart-denying action you might take each day, maybe to protect your ego or conform to expectations? And what profound peace could you potentially unlock by choosing the heart's logic instead, even just once?
Something to consider. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the channeled wisdom surrounding the twin flame journey and the ascension of Gaia. It's been fascinating.
It really has. We'll see you next time on A Deep Dive.